Princess Serena, not Princess Serena, and today we are talking about Inside Out 2. I've been meaning to film this. I did see it when it came out on June 14th, but I had to attend to a different sequel. I had a graduation party, hence why I'm all dressed up with 2024 balloons. I had a vision with my best friend, Marion. You would have saw her on my channel already. So that was a sequel because undergrad, and then this was my graduate degree graduation. And now we're talking about Inside Out 2, which Inside Out 1 came out the year I graduated high school, and I was moving to a different province, equivalent to her. I'm moving to a different state. So Inside Out is always like, it's near and dear to so many people's hearts because of the message, of course. Like, you know, you need sadness to really put into perspective joy, right? Like you can't have joy without sadness, and some moments are just beautiful to have sadness in them and allow yourself to feel that, right? And not bottle it up. And I took that with me so much throughout my life. It is my second favorite Pixar film. I need to re-rank everything. I haven't rewatched the entire Pixar roster since 2019, other than obviously all the new films that have come out since then, but I've been meaning to do a marathon, and I will, and I'll re-rank everything. So there will be no updated ranking in this video, but eventually this summer. So how did the sequel fare in comparison to its predecessor? So without further ado, let's get into it. I didn't have super high expectations because Pixar sequels have not been the best since 2010. Toy Story 3, peak sequel movie for honestly any movie. Forget about Pixar, forget about animation. The fact that the third one outdid the second one by a long shot, in my opinion, and is pretty close to the first, not quite there, but still there, says wonders. But yeah, Inside Out 2 is the first worthy sequel since then, in my opinion. The new focus was anxiety, which I knew, of course, leading up to the film. How they did it was so exceptional. Like, the thing that stood out to me out of the whole movie for the concept of anxiety was that it called back to the first film, but not like the exact same adventure. Like, it was joy in the gang, minus sadness, by the way, side tangent, but I liked how she was sent to headquarters, and then all the emotions that were in headquarters last time, fear, disgust, and anger, went with joy. That was a nice role reversal. But the imagination area, where it was all like bubblegums and rainbows and boy bands, you know, and stuff, the last film, this time anxiety was manipulating the imagination to work against her and to imagine future scenarios where everything goes wrong, and there's so many different scenarios. And I thought that was so genius. Yeah, it was treading on not a random sequel that was out of touch of the first film, which I didn't think it was going to be like. I thought maybe it was going to be so repetitive from the first film, which, yes, of course, oh no, Joy leaves headquarters and has to find her way back. In a vacuum, it's very similar, but like, honestly, it was so well executed. And I also appreciated how Riley, like actually her, like the external her as a character, was like explored more. I mean, of course, it all has to do with the emotion, but she is her emotions, right? And I liked that they aged her up 2 years. Like, the whole idea of like, oh no, like I'm coming into my own and I want to be with the cool kids and like my future and stuff, but also, you know, my childhood and the silliness and like that connection I already have, and like balancing the two, and obviously, you know, seeing where your morals lie, and then the sense of self that brings me to. I loved that. It was so interesting because in the first film it was more just like, okay, like more linear emotions and like, okay, core memories build who you are. That was what was on that, right? But this time it was your sense of self. And what was that comprised of? Your belief system. And like in that river, right? And like, how do you get your belief system? Through memories. And like Joy was even like filtering out the bad memories. And it's like, people do that to themselves in real life. You kind of filter out to like save face with yourself. just like who you are as a person and filter, I'm a good person and I'm great. And all of these memories of this experience was wonderful. And it's like, that's your belief. And you say it so much to yourself. That's all you know. And that's all you believe. Even if your deep subconscious has those forgotten, quote unquote, negative memories, which I don't think anything's negative, but not pleasant, because you still like learn from it and you become who you are based on those not so pleasant experiences, and even making mistakes personally, like external, like some things externally could happen that are bad to you, but also internally, maybe you react in a selfish way, which is, I loved how the sense of self at the end, it wasn't like either extreme, like, oh, I'm so good, or, oh, I'm not good enough. Like that broke me when it kept repeating, I'm not good enough. I was really curious what it was gonna say when like anxiety was just putting all of the anxiety centered memories in her belief system. But that makes sense. And I really liked at the end, the answer wasn't just going back to like her original belief system, but September 25th, Sabrina, yes, Wrinkle. My friend Wrinkle was on the channel before. She's like, Sabrina Carpenter's going on tour. It just got announced. I got the update from a different friend while I was in the field, while I was taking photos. Inside Out 2, where was I? Yeah, the sense of self. I loved how the solution wasn't just to put her old sense of self before anxiety like came in. They kind of accepted the sense of self to be rooted from all of the emotions, right? They let the quote unquote bad emotions seep in, right? That's the whole thing. They dropped all of the experiences and it turned into a sense of self where she said, I'm a good person, but I'm selfish. I'm a good friend, but I'm also a bad friend. And I'm a firm believer that two things, even if they seem contradictory, could exist at the same time. And that's exactly what this is. Like, could be a good friend, but could also be a really bad friend. And things could coexist. I really liked how Joy was not like secluding sadness and not necessarily reacting to anxiety the same way, like move and like go. It was anxiety reacting towards joy in that way, which makes sense because anxiety is like, okay, I'm fearful for the future and you're just stuck in her past and I don't want anything to do with that. And the bottled up emotion joke, like obviously, haha, suppressed emotions, but it's like literally not only when like you're anxious, not only are you bottling up sadness, disgust, fear. Well, fear, I guess, ties into anxiety, which I do wish they played into more. But it's like also when you are being numb to all your emotions, it's including joy, right? And you saw that, and it's so realistic. And the new emotions other than anxiety, envy, I didn't really feel like she was very envious. She was just like, oh, I want to be part of the cool kids. Yeah, let's emulate that, And she didn't really, I mean, obviously all the emotions, there's so many now, they can't all have a huge part in the movie. But I loved how boredom, like ennui, basically had an app, like, 'cause it was just too boring to like go up and like do it. I loved that character. And embarrassment, nostalgia. I loved the line where it's like, oh, you're like 2 graduations and a best friend's wedding too early. Like, that was so good. That just means there has to be more Inside Out movies because like she needs to come back. And I loved the little gag with that video game character, like, I can't do it. And then Disgust is like, use your weakness as your strength. Oh my gosh. And it was so dramatic. I loved it. And then that Dora the Explorer type character, and then the map type character, it was a fanny pack or some pouch. Iconic. I loved it. And then Anger was just like, no, we don't have time for this. Do you want that, or that? Like, it was so funny. Yeah, this movie did not lose its humor. There was definitely some laugh out loud moments for sure. And in terms of message, I don't think the message was any worse. It was on par with the first one. It wasn't lackluster. The only thing, like, I haven't rewatched the first one, and maybe I will change my mind and I'll share you my updated thoughts when I do a ranking. But Inside Out 2 lacked a little bit of the heart, as much as the message was just as important. I feel like there was no equivalent of like Bing Bong, which I'm glad they never even mentioned him. He wasn't referenced. Like, that should just stay in the past, and that's the whole point. It's like a forgotten memory, even the, like, the emotions aren't talking about him, right? But his impact on the film when like he let go and was like ready, you know what? Like, I'll be forgotten. This is my fate. And like like, go save Riley, take her to the moon for me. Like, doesn't matter how many times I see that film, I'm just like, I'm bawling thinking about it. Like, I'm tearing up a little bit. Makeup, so like, stop. But yeah, it was just so sweet, and I feel like we lacked that because we had less time with the emotions and more time with Riley and her friends and the hockey. And there was more of a plot on the outside rather than her just running away at the end and like not exploring too much of what was happening on the outside world, like for Riley. So yeah, there's give and take, honestly. I still think I like the first one more, but this one is definitely high up on my ranking. I'm really curious where it's gonna be. But yeah, that's it for my thoughts on Inside Out 2 about a week after it released. I'm trying to think. Yeah, about a week after it released. I hope you enjoyed, and if you haven't already, please subscribe for more pin-related content from me. This was not a pin-oriented video, but I have a playlist of like me, since I started this channel, all the new Pixar films I want to give my thoughts, and I also have a whole ranking. It was one of my first videos on here. It's in that playlist as well. I'll link it down below if you want to check it out, but that's very outdated thoughts, and I'm not going to watch that video in preparation for my ranking. I don't want to know where I ranked them. I don't want to know my thoughts. I just know Wall-E isn't gonna move because it's such a special film to me in other ways. But Inside Out 1 was just like personally special to me, and I think it's so cool that like it came out the summer I graduated high school, and then now this one came out the summer I graduated with my master's. Like, if that's not a full circle moment, I don't know what is, just because Inside Out is so about growing up and managing your emotions. And I'm such a different person from like 2015 to 2024. Wow, 9 years, my gosh, what a post-secondary journey I had. And I would love to know your thoughts on the film. Did they live up to your expectations? Do you like it better than the first film? On par? Maybe you didn't love it. Who's your favorite emotion? Mine is still sadness, not in real life. In the context of the movie, character-wise, the little yay like flag that Sadness had near the beginning, iconic. I love her. But yeah, let me know all your thoughts, and if you have a Pixar ranking, where would this place? I'm very curious. And as always, take care of yourselves and have a magical day. Bye.